Where's Dr. Harrison? You want to come up? Hi, Missouri City. How are you guys today? Hi. Well, I am your host, Sampson of the Session Talk Show, and this is my co-host, Rose.
I am Rose.
Yes, and we are going to be interviewing Dr. Harris today with Nirvana Behavioral, correct? Good morning, good afternoon. I guess we'll share mine. You want to share mine? You know what? Let's do this. So today is Friday the 13th. Are any of you guys superstitious? A little bit?
Are you guys having a Lucky Charm day? Yes? So, you know what? I need you guys to clap for me. Clap! Oh my gosh! That is lovely. Okay, so we need audience participation. So please come up, be brave, be courageous, and we need you guys to ask the questions. And then let's have some great fun, right?
Yeah, let's have some fun. And we're going to be recording this, so you guys are going to see this live. So we're going to record in 3, 2, 1. Hi, guys. Welcome to the Session Talk Show. I'm your co-host, Sampson, and this is my coach.
Hey, I'm Rose.
And we are your source for fashion, music, sports, and community. And today, we are at the 4th annual It's Your Time to Shine
Mayor Showcase in Missouri City.
Guys.
Come on, give me guys a big hand.
Dr. Harris with Nirvana Behavioral. Hi, Dr. Harris, how are you?
Okay,
Is her mic on? Okay, you can share mine. Rose will fix it. So today we're going to be talking with small business owners about the importance of mental health and being, in small business. Can you just give us a little bit about your backstory?
I am a resident of Missouri City, proud resident of Missouri City. But I come by way of South Park, Texas area. I went to high school in South Park, Roshaw Sterling. I went on to get my PhD at Michigan State. And my specialization in therapy is sex therapy and addictions. However, I have a community-based program where I focus a lot on the foster care population. And what that means is that a lot of the kids who are in foster care have attachment disorders, they have co-occurring disorders, and a lot of sexual abuse and trauma. So I come from a very trauma-informed background.
Is that what kind of got you interested in mental health, or what?
Good question. So I grew up in a family of about 6 women. And so, as you know, women can be somewhat emotional.
No!
We can also be supportive and only emotional.
That is very true. However, the family that I grew up in, there was some mental illness there, and it was never addressed. They came from a very religious background, and so it was more of, let's pray about it, let's go to church, and then I really didn't see a lot of resolve. And so growing up with that, it kind of got me into the space of, wanting to know more. What is going on? Is there a solution to this?
So you became a psychologist, right? And then basically this is to help other people.
Correct. On top of that, looking in the community, we see a lot of the homeless population, and there's a high incidence of mental illness there. And then within the foster community, there is a lot of mental illness within those families, which result in the children being removed from the home.
So then let's talk about businesses, because I'm in my own business, and what's difficult is the mindset. There are some days when you don't want to do it. There's some days when you're not going to make that money, honey. And then the lonely days. Could you give them some tips to handle those stressful days, to keep going?
Let me just address that first point that you made about being a business owner and the stress that comes with. We know as entrepreneurs, especially minority-owned businesses, is there's a gap there. There's a lot of us didn't grow up in higher ed, and we didn't grow up with entrepreneurs, and so we have to kind of break that mold. So we have to come outside of our shell and identify, who are we? So you got to start there first.
Okay, so just because you don't have an education doesn't mean you don't have it, because you got to have it, right? You just got to catch up. Because sometimes, isn't it right though, when you're wanting something to do something, you don't always have to have a degree though.
That's absolutely correct. So, what I've noticed is that, especially within entrepreneurship, is that you're creating a path that probably doesn't exist, right? You're creating a situation where there is an idea you have and no one else has done it. Or even if they've done it, they're not going to do it like you. I like to say, I have the recipe, I'll loan you the sauce. No one else is like you. So you have to remember that even with or without education, you still have to have a plan.
Yeah, but let's talk about this. So as it relates to small business and entrepreneurship, I feel like you have to be whole regardless. So mental health wise, yes, you have challenges as being a small business owner. However, you can have challenges with being in corporate America as well. But personally, if you are not well, your business is not well. If you're not well, you can't perform at your job anyways. So other than the challenges of business, can you get a little insight on just mental health period as it relates to just life, daily living, and how that occurs?
Well, you can't beat yourself up about not being whole. So I hear people say that whole is very subjective. We're constantly on a healing journey. We're constantly learning new things about ourselves. So don't tell yourself, I can't be in business or I can't do this because I'm not whole. Because you'll discover things about yourself when you're under pressure. And when it relates to mental health and being an entrepreneur, a lot of our themes about ourselves are if we're not working or if we're not stressed out, we're not successful. Or we'll say things like, I'll sleep when I die. Very, very toxic ways of self-care. And so you're right, you have to address your self-care. First, what does that look like? But you also have to remember that in business, you're doing something that no one else has done. So you're gonna feel outside the box. You're gonna go into rooms and no one's gonna look like you.
Isn't it though that you don't always have to fit in? Meaning if what you want is what you want, then why are you bending down to somebody else's approval? Because this is what you want to do. You're good at it, right? You're good at it, right? You're good at it, then just do it. Just like the Nike commercial.
Yeah, but it's not always that simple, right?
It's not. We have something called imposter syndrome. And there's not a lot of research on this, but what imposter syndrome says is that people who are high achievers will still doubt themselves. And they will begin to self-sabotage. They will begin to overthink things. They'll talk themselves out of, opportunities. And so with imposter syndrome, when that comes into play, it can stop you from doing a lot of things.
Yeah, because there's more of the past and failure driven.
Absolutely.
And sometimes it's, do I deserve to be here?
Absolutely.
Do I deserve to be in this room? Am I meant to be here?
We call that survivor's remorse.
Yeah. Dangling like a carrot, being triggered.
What pointers can you give the business owners for self-care? Because I know us girls, we're gonna go to the spa, we're gonna take a nice long bubble bath and some wine, but we have guys in the audience too. What pointers can you give for self-care for business owners?
So when we say self-care, a lot of us believe that that's a luxury item. We believe that we go to spas and get our nails done. But self-care is really identifying what your triggers are. Identifying when you go into these spaces or when you begin to be, that you have to, if you're gonna talk the talk, you gotta walk the walk, meaning if you're gonna tell people you're a business owner, you have to conduct yourself like you're a business owner. And that doesn't mean that people shouldn't see you sweat. Because I'll tell you this, there are times that I've been in business, like you said, if I didn't go to work, then I didn't get paid. But I had to tell myself, what is your plan for that? What is your plan for those times that you get sick?
It's about, there's a difference between self-care and then holding yourself accountable. Because when you're on your own and you're on your own businesses, then who's your accountability partner? Right.
And also, like, just to piggyback on what we were just talking about, when you have some business owners that may be in the audience who are popping the popcorn, selling the tickets, and playing in the game, self-care may look really different or hard to do. What do you suggest?
I suggest, this is something that I do, and it's something that I tell my clients, because I will go on what I call the hamster wheel. If you think about a hamster going on that wheel, he's just spinning and going in circles, and then you start to get kind of annoyed by that sound, and you're looking at it. It's not a cute little hamster no more, it's just a noisy little thing. And that's kind of like, you think about that, that's the self-doubt, that's the fear, right? So what I do is I ask myself 3 questions. I first ask myself, I say, is what you're thinking, is it true? And for whatever reason, I'm a list maker, I'll make a list. If I say something like, I'm not gonna be successful, or I'm not gonna, attain that goal, I'll make a list, and then I'll ask myself, is that true? That's the first question. The second question is, can I do something about it? Can I address whatever it is that if it's fear, if it's doubt, if it's, I don't think I'm gonna land that next account, what are you gonna do about it? And the third thing is, if I'm thinking this, is it gonna get me to that goal?
Dr. Harris, let's talk about when somebody's down in the dumps and they're mentally just like, they're having repeated no, then what can they do in order to pick themselves back up?
That's a good question. And we're speaking of entrepreneurship.
Yes.
Correct? You almost have to reinvent yourself. Figure out, why are you being told no? Look at the pattern. Everything is kind of look at it from, you gotta look at your vantage point. Are you looking at it as the tree, you're in front of the tree, or is it the forest? Now, what is it? Is it the wrong target market? Is it your product? Is it your approach? Is it your marketing? You have to start looking at how you're branding yourself, and there may be something very small that you can tweak. Or, like you said, get an accountability partner. Find someone else that's already in the business and network with them.
For sure, and that sounds a lot like leverage too. Maybe you can't do it all. Maybe you need to hire someone to help you out, right?
That's correct. I like to live in a world of what I call feedback, right? I always asking people, like, tell me, because I'm one of those perfectionists. And that can be a form of self-sabotage when you think that, everything has to be perfect. You can burn yourself out like that.
But when everything has to be so perfect, that's why remember we talked about the imposter syndrome. Is that you really you find it a struggle because when you fail for the first time, you really try for the first time. You guys have to just go, oh, okay, like a child at play. It's a discovery of learning. And then it's just like the Nike commercial, it's about the goal, and sometimes how can give us an advice about removing the emotion away from a goal and an outcome. Isn't a goal just a goal? Just a process?
Well, a goal is the product of your environment, right? How did I get to a place where I wanted to go into mental health? There's a backstory to everyone's goals, whether it be money, whether it be family. I chose my goals because I knew that my community needed something more than what they were getting. I'm a product of it, so.
Gotcha. I think the lesson for today is get therapy. Okay, well, thank you so much, Dr. Harris, for joining us. You guys give Dr. Harris a huge round of applause. And we'll be right back with the Session Talk Show. Thank you. Guys, while we're on like a mini commercial break, do you guys have any questions for Dr. Harris?
This is your chance. Come on. Ready?
Here you go.
We got it right here.
We got it right here. Good afternoon, ladies. As an entrepreneur, I see that business owners have ownership to their employees, and I notice that when employees deal with mental issues, a lot of owners dispel it and don't want to deal with it. Are there any suggestions that if you do have staff who suffer from that, how you recognize that, or any recommendations for them? Because most people just worry about our business and we don't have that time for social issues. But do you have any suggestions?
That's a really good question because in the business that I'm in, all of my clinicians have to deal with like burnout. And so I would suggest in a situation like that, so that you can desensitize those negative thoughts, because a lot of us still have the stigma of mental health, and so we don't want to address it. I would invite someone to come in, someone like myself or someone else in the mental health field, and just kind of have a conversation. Talk about, mental health and how it affects, stress, or how stress affects mental health. And start introducing it and start having a language within your company of wellness. And that means physical and mental. And give them opportunity, I have this thing on Fridays, it was like, Friday and donuts. Come in my office, and if you want to just put everything on, put everything out when you come in, do that. And so I had clinicians come in and just in tears because they were just like, I have so much going on, I don't have a balance. And so start introducing the idea of wellness within your company. You will see a huge change. Also, I would want to suggest this, and this could be a little costly. We started to do this later on within my business, but start offering mental health days or a mental health hour. You see someone that looks like they're getting close to like their breaking point. You also have to kind of have your pulse on your business and understand when those specific employees are having those challenges. Pull them aside and say, hey, go ahead and take the rest of the day off. Like I said, some of us can't afford to do that, but for the ones that can't, give them an extra hour. Here's the thing, we have to invest in people. That's how we get the good products. We have to invest in people. Right now, in my field, there's 72% of us are dealing with a high turnover. 72% of us. Almost 3 out of 4 of us. So we can't keep clinicians in office. My waiting list is long because of this very issue. We're not investing in ourselves and we're not investing in people. We just got out of a quarantine. A lot of us had to sit with ourselves, right? We realized we don't really like ourselves that much. And so
I like myself.
I love myself. But I think it's the issues. We disassociate our issues. We want to put them off on something else. Work, children, bills. Once you start addressing the core issue, you will get productivity out of your staff.
Can I add? It's also kindness matters. Meaning, if your employees or someone you're working with is about to have a meltdown, so I suggest this is that go down to their level, slow down, be a softer, quieter, and then go down to their level, and then be there so that they can then work through the process of it. So give them time and kindness through the whole process.
Perfect. Any other questions for Dr. Harris? Sure.
Good afternoon. Tell them, if you could, about the bright side of what you do. Like, we have a client that was down in the dumps, but then through the process, that client prospered and came back to you and know how to do it.
That is exactly why I'm in this business. It's not about the money. Honestly, I've had, part of my core population is foster children, more specifically between the ages of 9 and 17. And I had a particular client who had been in several different foster placements and had really no person that was like hallmark in their life. Like they lost everybody. And if you know anything about foster kids, the more they move, the more trauma they sustain. So this particular client had decided that she's going to run away for the umpteenth time. Well, I have a crisis line. I told her, I said, hey, if you get into a situation that's sticky, call me. She called me like 2 o'clock in the morning. Literally, I got out of my bed and I was like, where are you? I'm walking down the street in South Post Oak. And I was like, okay. Went to South Post Oak, took her to the McDonald's, if y'all know McDonald's on Orem, and bought her something to eat, and just talking with her. Convinced her to go back to her residential treatment center. This particular client is actually successfully applied and got into Texas Southern, so I am happy about that. Yes,
Good. Any other questions? Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us, and can you tell the audience where they can find you?
Yes, so I have a private practice in Houston, San Antonio, and Dallas. If you go to nirvanabehavioral.com, that's my website. I also have some brochures that you can take, and that's it.
Perfect. Okay, cool, that is it. I think we're gonna take a couple of pictures, right?
Yes.
Okay, cool. The music.
Can you talk about home couch and all that stuff?
Yes.
Okay, now?
Want to talk about it now?
Whatever you want. Go ahead.
Okay, so that is what we have in common. Thank you, Mr. Pierre. So I started a mobile crisis van. It's under the guise of what we call the cultural couch. And the cultural couch is a representation of marginalized populations such as, minorities who don't have access to mental health. So what this van does, it's called autofields. I drive into crisis situations and I do de-escalation. I also drive to you for mental health services, whether it be in school, your home. So I'm all in your business, I'm all in your house. It's called Cultural Couch.
That's excellent. I love therapy. Therapy is work, but it's worth it.
It's great to unwind and then get to know yourself and start loving yourself again.
It's trademark.
Okay, we are gonna welcome our other guests. Do you want to take pictures at the end or right now? Okay. Everybody's looking.
One round of applause, please. Round of applause again. We have more photographers.
Cool. I really wanted to redo the intro, but are we good? You guys get to see all the behind the scenes. Do you want to do the intro or are you good?
Okay, can I ask you something? Hey,
Yes.
like I told y'all before, we have plenty of food. I will talk about every single one. I got your registration. I'll put it on. Y'all go out here and act like you so didn't. You can't get another help. So we'll be quiet about it. Don't get there like you're sneaking. Get some more food, some more chicken, some shrimp, and go and eat while you're listening to this wonderful keynote. Please give me that. I'm so full and happy spiritually right now. Y'all don't know. I'm just gonna keep it to myself. I want to still be that hard man. But y'all, get some more